Hello, beautiful souls. It's Gloria here. As you're joining, I would love for you to say hi to me in the chat and let me know where you're tuning in from. And maybe even one word for how your heart is arriving in this moment. So let's take a deep breath together to arrive. Thanks for being here with me today. Today, I want to talk about something that is so close to my heart. It's what happens when we are truly seen and heard, especially in a community that you have that neuroception of safety with. That means that your body, your cells in your body feel safe beneath conscious awareness. And I want to weave this in with some reflections from the early responses to my new signal, What Happened to You, and share how this ties directly into the next Sacred Circles cohort that's beginning on December the 8th. So since releasing Single, I've been sitting with your messages. And I've heard from people who have said things like, Gloria, I felt like you were telling my story. Or I started crying and I didn't even know why. And this song touched a place in me that I usually keep hidden. Well, as I read those words, my whole body responds. My chest gets warm and my eyes get wet, and there's this deep knowing inside. This is what happens when our stories are witnessed with tenderness, with resonance. When I was a little girl, I learned very quickly that if I just did what I was told, things were much safer. I could have fun if I followed the rules, and if I didn't, I got hurt. I remember trying to speak up and trying to stop the hurt, and I discovered I wasn't strong enough to make it happen, to make it stop. And as children do, I made that mean something about me. Yeah, I decided I must be weak. My needs don't matter, and my voice doesn't change anything. And those conclusions, they're just not true. But they felt very true in my nervous system. Hi, glad to see you're here. So I learned to disappear. I learned to stay quiet, and I learned to hold my pain on the inside. Yes, I am doing a live recording. And what I've learned over the years through my own healing, through the horses and through deep inner work and community, is that our nervous system, it doesn't heal in isolation. We need spaces where our truth is truly welcomed, and we need spaces where someone can look at us with soft eyes and say, I see you. You're not too much. You're not broken. And you're not alone. And so what happened to you is it's not just a song to me. It's actually a doorway. It's an invitation to remember that whatever happened to us, it doesn't define the truth of us. So what I want to do is to bring this question right into the center of our circle here today. You might even just take a moment and just check in what actually happens within you, within each of us, when we're truly seen and heard in a safe community. So if it feels okay, you might even close your eyes for a moment and imagine that if someone is sitting with you and they're not trying to fix you, they're not judging you, and they're not rushing you, they're just here with you. They're breathing with you. They're listening to you. They're holding you with warmth and with curiosity. Notice, what does your body do as you imagine that? Do you notice anything softening? Maybe some tingling or some warmth? And sometimes maybe even there's a little resistance. I know many of us, when we're truly being seen, it brings up a paradox. Part of us just aches for it, and the other part of us is terrified of it and resists it. And that's because in the past, being seen, it may have meant that you're going to be shamed or punished or even abandoned. So when we step into a space that's truly safe and it's trauma informed, something sacred begins to happen. Our nervous system actually starts to settle. And our breath, it drops a little deeper into the body. And the younger parts of us that have been hiding in the shadows, they can start to actually peek out. They're wondering, is it really safe now? And it's when those younger aspects of self, or those younger parts within us, that they're met with love and presence. They're met with kindness, not just by one person, but just imagine you're in a small circle of humans that are all practicing the same level of care. That is when the alchemy happens. That is when the shame can begin to loosen its grip, and those stories that have been spiraling around and we've carried alone, they actually begin to transform just by being spoken in a place where they're actually held with reverence. And we begin to experience a new reality. Maybe I'm not broken. Maybe what happened to me actually makes sense. And maybe my pain is not proof that something's wrong with me. It's really proof that something did happen. And this kind of being seen, it really begins a reorganization within our system from the inside out. And that's why I created Sacred Circles, because I desire to create a space where we don't just talk about healing and transformation, but we actually step in there and experience what it's like to be held, what it's like to be witnessed, and even cherished just as we are. In Sacred Circles, we slow everything down. And that's important, just to slow it all down. We listen not just to the words that are being spoken, we listen to the body. We notice the breath. We notice the pauses. So we honor those places that feel still very tender or confused or afraid and angry. And we welcome the parts of you that learn to be silent, the ones that learn to be good or to be invisible, because that's what once kept you safe. And in the honoring, that's where something is shifting, because you start to even hear yourself more clearly. And you can start to feel yourself with more kindness. And you can start to trust your own inner wisdom instead of abandoning yourself just to keep the peace. So just like the song asks, what happened to you? Sacred Circles creates a living container, a space where that question can be explored with both depth and love, and where that follow-up realization can land, where you can have the experience of someone leaning in and asking, and who are you really underneath what happened? So the real you gets to live large, gets to shine, gets accompaniment to be who you are. So if you're listening and there's a part of you that's whispering, I want that, I want to be in a space like that, then you're invited. Our next Sacred Circle cohort, it begins December the 8th, and it will be a small, intimate group on purpose. I keep the circle limited so that everyone can be held. Everyone can experience being seen and honored in a very real and embodied way. This also means that the spaces are limited and the doors will be closing soon so that we can begin to tune into the group that is meant to be together for this round. And if your body feels a little fluttery when you hear that, maybe it feels hopeful, maybe it feels nervous, I want to acknowledge that's okay. That's often what it feels like when we're standing right at the threshold of something new and sacred. But you don't have to have it all figured out. And you don't have to be healed enough to belong. You don't have to know what you'll be sharing or how you'll show up. You simply need a willingness, a yes in your heart, even if it's a trembling yes. So if you're feeling that yes, I'd love for you to join us. There's a link in the description, and you can click on the link to learn more about or to claim your spot for the December 8th Sacred Circles cohort. So as we close, I want to invite you to again place a hand on your heart, if that feels okay. And take one more breath with me. Let that land. You are worthy of being seen with love, and you are worthy of being heard without judgment. You are worthy of a community that remembers your wholeness, even when you forget. So I thank you for listening to the song that I released, What Happened to You? And I also thank you for reaching out and sharing your stories and your hearts with me. If you feel called, I would be honored to walk with you more closely inside the sacred circles. And if you're here live and you have a takeaway or a feeling that's present, then I would love for you to drop a welcome in the chat. Note down what you have. I'd love to hear what lands for you. And I'm sending you and all your younger selves so much love and tenderness. And I do see some highs. And no, I'm not an AI. And it's okay if it sounded like that to you anyway. You take care until I see you guys again in the next circle.